News that the president was at least meeting with Democrats and Republicans about the budget crisis sent stock prices higher today, snapping a two-day losing streak. But the prospect that the U.S. might default on its debts led Fidelity Investments today to sell many of its short-term U.S. Treasury bonds out of fear that they won't be repaid. And the interest rate on the one-year Treasury bill that matures October 17th, the day that the country could default, look at that, it's doubled in the past 24 hours, reflecting the higher risk to investors. We talked about all of this with one of America's most successful financial executives, Ken Chenault. Chenault has been chairman of American Express since 2001. His cards account for 26% of the total dollar volume of credit card transactions in the U.S. The company's market value is $77.9 billion. What's at stake in Washington?
I think what's important to understand, if the United States hits the debt ceiling and is unable to pay its debts, the consequences will be immediate and dramatic. The reality is that U.S. Treasury debt is viewed as a risk-free asset because the United States has been the wealthiest nation on the planet for the last 100 years, and no one ever believed that the United States would not pay its debts. As a result, the world financing infrastructure is built on U.S. Treasury debt. If the U.S. defaults, the system literally unwinds.
Now, there's a little bit of a Chicken Little effect here. Back when the sequester was happening, the mandatory budget cuts, there were predictions of grave consequences for the economy that really haven't happened. When the government shutdown began about 8 days ago, there were suggestions of grave impacts on the economy. We haven't quite seen those yet. What's different about this?
Scott, what we're talking about is a default. Is the first time in 237 years, the history of this country, that the United States would not pay its bills. What that means is the government does not stand behind its word, and the confidence in our financial system would be severely eroded. This would be catastrophic.
Your message to Washington then is what?
My message to Washington is the United States has gone through incredible crises, and our leaders have been able to find common ground. And that's what our leaders have to do. Failure is not an option, because what our government should be focused on is doing what's right for our people, doing what's right for the economy, and in fact, ensuring that the promise of this great country can be realized.
In what passes for good news, Chenault told us that U.S. banks are much stronger than they were in 2008, better able to withstand another shock.